Jonathan Stewart gets in, fights for more yardage. Stewart to the mouth of the goal line. Touchdown!
Wow, that's just pure Stewart right there.
That's a big-time run by Jonathan Stewart.
Welcome to Bleav in Carolina Panthers here on Bleav Podcast Networks. Do you believe? Rate and subscribe the show on all major podcast platforms and subscribe to our social media channels on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Video available weekly at youtube.com/@Tobacco Road Sports Radio.
Do you believe?
Football, no fun, sir.
Welcome to a brand new edition of the Bleav in Carolina Panthers podcast here on Bleav Podcast Networks, presented by Bet Online. Desmond Johnson here with you, Panthers beat writer for Sports Illustrated, Schuyler, Callihan in the house, Panthers all-time leading rusher Jonathan Stewart in the house. If you're watching this right now and it's live, do us a solid, share the link online. It's on X. Underneath Bleav in Panthers, share it on Instagram and underneath Bleav in Carolina Panthers. We're going to do a little experiment today, see how many live streamers we can get going before we get off the air here. A loaded show today. We got a lot to get to. Of course, if you saw the title of this one, it's the one with the big fat loss of the Saints, the Carolina Panthers falling 47-10 to the New Orleans Saints week 1 of the 2024 season. I had to look this up, guys. If I'm not mistaken, it's the second biggest loss in Panthers history, like in 30 years. Like I had to go find the worst one to make sure it wasn't the worst one. And they said it wrong on the TV. The worst loss in Panthers history was back in 2000. They lost to the Raiders 52-7 during the Chris Winkie year. That was the one in 15 year. Won the first game, lost the next 15. This one, we're going to dissect it. We'll get into it, talk about what we saw, what we liked, what we didn't like. We'll get an injury update on Derrick Brown. When it rains, it pours. I kind of like the fact that we wait a day or two after these games to do our pod, so we kind of get the fallout of everything else. On Monday, it's announced Derrick Brown tore his meniscus, maybe out for the season. Last I checked, he was going to try to get a second opinion, according to Dave Canales, so we'll give you an update on that as well. Bryce Young. I got to a long, pointless debate on Twitter yesterday about Bryce Young. We'll touch on him a little bit. We're not going to get too much into him because, to be honest, NFL defense giving up 47 points is more alarming to me than anything Bryce Young did or didn't do on Sunday. So we'll get into all that as well. Of course, it's Tell 'em Why You Mad. I have a feeling that a lot of you are probably upset and frustrated with what you saw.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you why we mad, son. I'm going to tell you why we mad,
on Sunday, and this is the place to vent it out. So it's open mailbag. You can give us your opinions, give us your thoughts on what you saw Sunday. If you want to throw the whole thing away, if you want to trudge on, if you're feeling whatever way you're feeling, you can come in here and make the comments like folks are doing right
Get
now.
it off your chest.
Just get it off your chest. And then around the league, man, there's a lot of storylines going on around the league. Is Deshaun Watson done? We've kind of tippy-toed around this subject for a while. It may be time to really talk about that. How about the Cowboys coming out and scoring the way they were doing the other day?
Guys, we're not going there. We've already told you.
Hey, I told you.
We've
Chief
already
Cowboys
told you.
I got ridiculed for it. Of course, we picked 9 wins for these Panthers too. So there you go. Kirk Cousins in Atlanta, which was the worst loss? Bengals, Giants, Panthers. And then our keys to victory. We do have another game coming up Sunday against the Los Angeles Chargers. It's the home opener, and we'll each give our key to what we need to do to avoid what happened on Sunday. But before we get to that, before we get to my guys, quick word from our friends over at Bet Online. Bet Online is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. Bet Online has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200K. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet Online, the game starts here. And where we will start, guys, let's start with Derrick Brown. What have you heard about Derrick Brown, Schuyler, in terms of Canals was at the podium the other day, he was saying, or yesterday, about he's thinking about getting a second opinion. How likely do you think it is that we see Derrick Brown again this year?
Not very likely. Usually when that initial report comes out and it's not good like it was, very rarely do you ever hear that the second opinion contradicted the first one. So my gut tells me, and I don't have any inside information, but my gut just tells me that this is probably going to be season ending. That's what the initial report was. And yeah, I mean, as a competitor like Derrick is, I mean, he's going to go and get that second opinion. Hell, he may even get a third just to be like, hey, let me know that there's not a chance that maybe I can come back and play 2 games this year. Like, that's how he's wired. That's how a lot of these guys are. But I have a very, very bad feeling that we have already seen the last of Derrick Brown in 2024. And yeah, unfortunate.
This is crazy. How do we go from being like up here, like Saturday
adding injury to insult, or the other way around, however you want to phrase it.
You know, the thing that hurt the most too on Sunday, I was thinking about it, was all the former Panthers around the league like having a great time. It's like that SpongeBob meme where like, he's watching them out the window or whatever, and they're like running down the street. Had a good day. Baker Mayfield had a good day.
Like when you was little and everybody was outside playing outside.
You grounded.
And you grounded.
Like, oh, man. I don't want to be outside too. Dante Jackson had an interception and a long return. Who else got off on Sunday? It was just a lot.
Sling and Sammy played well.
Sam Darnold. He started off like
played really good.
14 for 14 or something nuts. Like,
the Vikings might mess around and they gonna make the playoffs.
It's crazy. And then I'm sitting there watching us like, what is this? What is this? Like, I've never felt like that during a Panther. Well, no, that's not true. Not like that. That felt like just a butt whooping, like from the beginning, from the very start.
Before we go deep into this, like if you just start thinking about it, like this is kind of like a toxic relationship with the Panthers and quarterbacks, because for a while you start thinking that it's the other person, right? Like, oh, it was Sam Darnold. No, it wasn't me. It was Sam. It was Baker. No, it wasn't me. It was Baker. And now it's Bryce. And at some point you got to start to look in the mirror like, maybe it's me.
Yeah.
That's the issue. and
it's like that movie. What's that movie called? It's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
Name of the movie.
Yeah.
It's insane. And Baker won. Sam won. Like, I mean, they're winning in these other places. Like, and it made me go back and think, like, what if we were still in a world where Sam Darnold was still here and they didn't do some of this stuff? We'd have been better off.
Can I interject something really quick? Because I don't want to get I want to get people fired up early on this Tuesday morning. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you why we mad.
Let's do this.
This isn't my tell you why I'm mad, but I'm going to get some other people mad here. So
hey,
just think about the days of Matt Rhule, right? I know we said, last year we didn't really want to talk about it anymore, but just think about it.
Which, by the way, he's undefeated.
He won too.
Right now.
Yeah. He won on Saturday.
And he is rolling right now with a stud quarterback, Dylan Rhule. But just think about that. What if David Tepper said, nah, I'm not going to fire you, 6 games into the season. I'm just going to give you through the end of that 22 season, see what happens. Typically, he turns it around in year 3. Maybe it was year 4 in the NFL. I don't know. We can all make fun of him all the live long day about the Jay-Z quote. But if you look back at recent memory, he's the only full-time coach that's had success between him. I mean, it's been 1 game for Canales. I get it. But Frank Reich was a total disaster. Steve Wilkes obviously had success in his interim stint, but that was with the Matt Rhule team.
I thought about Steve long and hard.
And you go back to that year where Wilkes kind of turned it around. Yes, part of that was because they kind of switched their philosophy offensively, but that was the team that Matt Rhule had. In that first month or so of the season, they were struggling because they had a difficult first half of the schedule. So, I don't know. I'm just saying.
And that's
Matt Rhule may
have
not have been all that bad.
Yeah, woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Baker and Sam were here.
Woulda got shot, and so did shoulda. Okay. This is where we are. We're 0-1.
Yeah.
0-1.
Like,
everyone needs to relax. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you something. In 2018,
preach
you spoke about Deshaun Watson. The Houston Texans went 0-4. Went 0-4. 0 wins and 4. They was probably getting dog cussed. They was probably getting slapped in the face. When they probably go out to eat the Applebee's and they say, "No, y'all can't come in here." 0-4. That's a bad start, right? We've experienced something like that. They ended up making the playoffs.
Yep.
Okay.
Did they lose by 37 in any of those 4?
No, but they've had some struggle like games, and when we'll get to the nitty gritty as far as what we saw on Sunday. But I will say this: the NFL is a different league, and it's a special league for this very reason. All it takes is one game. And
I do agree with that.
And I will say this as a whole, this is the first time that a lot of these guys have played together for the very first time. I mean, talk about the secondary alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
Those
secondary
guys they came off a waiver wire,
right? So I mean, it takes time to understand how people speak, how people move, how people thrive. That just doesn't happen overnight. And the way these preseason games are going for a lot of these teams, not just us, they hold their starters out throughout the preseason. So they're not getting the meaningful reps that's needed to come together and gel, right?
Yeah.
And then you just talk about, just in the nature of what our training camp schedule was like. This is the first time that they've had training camp in Charlotte. That's completely different for the guys that have been on this roster for the last 3 years, where you've been going to Wofford, being in the dorm, being able to build that chemistry in a different light, in a different way. Because, I mean, I remember from my training camp days, training camp was special for the very reason of, hey, let's play horse in the locker room until 10 p.m. or 10:30 at night, right after meetings. Let's just get a couple games in right quick. And you have at least like 15 guys in the locker room just goofing off before they go to bed, right? So stuff like that, the team bonding, the chemistry, all that stuff matters, and it does support a winning recipe. Right now, they're still having to find the recipe. I'm not sitting here, everyone with their pitch and forks and fire flames and all that stuff. Look, we have to be we have to be more mature. We have to have a little bit more like common sense. And I know common sense isn't common, but for us to really expect like them to go out there and just have everything dialed in on game 1, like as a fan, you do. I'll say this: the fans deserve wins. Point blank. Okay. You're spending your money, you're spending your time, you're watching podcasts throughout the off season, you're watching ESPN, and you're getting your hopes up and all that. You deserve wins. But the reality is that it takes time. It has to come together the right way. And I'm still hopeful. I would have loved to see a different product on Sunday. Would have loved to see, some fight on defense. I mean, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of guys out there fighting. I mean, I look at Shaq Thompson. I look at Ashawn Robinson. These guys are fighting, but it has to come together as a team. And so there's some bright spots. There's a lot of, gloomy spots. And those guys in that locker room, they have to go to the lab. They have to fix it.
I love everything you just said. Unfortunately, that's probably going to be the most positivity that's going to be in this episode.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you why we mad.
I am hot. This is 6 years of this. 6 years. I understand the whole thing about we might not get a win right out the gate and stuff.
But hold on. Before you say this, when we decided to get a new head coach, what did we say in the offseason? We told you that when we get a new head coach, that's an automatic reset.
But
it's
not
an
like
automatic.
This, it's not like this.
It's an automatic.
Nothing.
I agree with you, brother.
Nothing looked right. And I'm sitting there. I'm questioning it because I'm like, is this why Bryce didn't play in the preseason? Like, is this why? Like, because they knew, like, deep down that he's not like quite there yet, and they just didn't want to show anything. Like, those are the thoughts that are creeping in my mind. I'm not saying that's what's going on.
That's called Satan getting in your brain.
We're battered fans. We're
Satan.
Battered fans right now. Like we are willing to accept any excuse to try to understand what just happened on Sunday. Because look, the first pass the man throws is the interception. He's overthrowing everything all of a sudden, and it was crazy because he had a clean pocket. He pretty much had a clean pocket most of the day. He seemed a little rattled. he seemed kind of rushing stuff. And when he would be on the move, that's when he was overthrown. The one that I guess he was trying to throw to Thielen was a good 5-6 yards, like down the way. Like, look, he was throwing to the safety instead of the Thielen or to a spot. That's what it really looked like. Look, he was throwing to a spot. And then the other one, the first one, he just missed. And I'm just sitting there like, how long? And I wasn't going to go on Bryce Young today. Actually, that's not even my time why I'm mad, but I do have to bring it up. What's the leash on how long do you give the number 1 overall pick before you start questioning should he have been the number 1 overall pick? Because with Cam Newton, we kind of knew immediately that, okay, this dude's a unicorn. He was supposed to be the number 1 pick. Like, we didn't have to, we lost, but we knew, like, we saw it. What's the game
Arizona
that we saw
game
with
was
Bryce
special
Young?
with him. I was like, good Lord.
He's got he's started 18 starts now. 18, I guess it's be, or 17, something like that. Has there been a game during the Bryce Young era where he played so well, you were like, that's why we drafted him? Green Bay. That's the one everyone keeps coming back to. It's the one he threw for 300 yards. We lost the game, but that's the one game he kind of played well, and that was late in the year. So, and then what happened after that? We went scoreless in the next game, and we haven't scored a touchdown in 9
Schuyler,
quarters.
Schuyler, it's time.
Come on. I've been sitting there waiting for today.
Schuyler, unleash havoc. Whatever you have to say, I feel like it's going to be good for this discussion right now.
You teed me up perfectly for this, Des. So
let's go.
This is my tell you why I'm mad. I just think that there are so many people, whether it's Panthers fans, writers, analysts outside of Charlotte, that they just jump at the very first chance they get to drag Bryce Young or to drag the Panthers organization, because that's just been the narrative over the last 5 or 6 years. And when you have somebody like David Tepper, love him, hate him, somewhere in between, he is a talking point for this organization. So anytime that the Panthers look miserable, that's a chance for everybody to pile on top, because they get to point and laugh at Tepper's team and all this other stuff. Folks, those that are calling for Bryce Young to be benched or the Panthers are already on the clock for next year.
Yeah.
Chill the hell out.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Game. Here's my point. I understand it didn't happen, but if Bryce had thrown for 350 and 4 touchdowns on Sunday, everyone would be anointing him as the face of this franchise. He's the clear guy. But I would still come back here on this show on this Tuesday morning and say, guys, it's one game. Don't get overexcited. It's one game. This is a long season. So I think there's way too many people overreacting to this. And there's a lot that goes into what went wrong on Sunday. It was not just on Bryce, and Stu can get into that here in a second. But I think people need to calm down about this whole Bryce Young thing. I'm not saying he's going to end up panning out or he's going to end up being the answer. But one game into this freaking season, I get it was horrible.
I'm not using just Sunday, though. That's the thing. I'm using all of last year, too.
You can't use last year.
I know.
Listen,
that was because we thought he was going to actually be coached up and actually look different. He looked worse. How do you
Desmond,
look
what's your
worse?
middle name?
But this is one game under this
What's your middle
new
name,
staff.
Desmond?
Jerome.
He had 0 reps in the preseason, essentially outside of one series. What he went through last year is so chaotic compared to what everybody else has come into. He has to regain that confidence. He may say he's confident in the press conference, or he may look confident.
He ain't in the pocket. No,
he has to gain that confidence on game day. We have not seen that yet. And here's a bold take right here. I don't know how you guys are going to react to this. I really think the Panthers fumbled how they handled his situation last year, because I don't know that he should have started week 1. But here's the really bold take. If I was Dave Canales, I would have come into this situation and said, you know what? We're going to wipe our hands clean. We're going to start this slate completely blank. Andy Dalton, you're starting the first 3 games.
Yep. I would. Yep.
And
because we're really going to make that a mulligan last year, it didn't exist. You're a rookie this year. Like,
this is a rookie year. You're going to learn this system, and we're going to wait until we feel 1,000% sure that you're confident going into the game, that we're going to put you in a situation. We're going to give our offensive line time to gel, time to figure each other out, time for the receivers to kind of emerge as who's going to be the guy, find time for the running backs, give Andy Dalton this team for 3 weeks. You put Bryce Young in there week 1 and it goes as bad as it did Sunday. It's hard to say, hey, kid, go take a seat. We'll bring you back maybe, week 8 or week 9.
Yeah, that's
a lot easier
I'm
to do.
against all that. I'm against all that. He's number 1 pick for a reason.
Okay.
He's number 1 pick for a reason, and he had last year. And this is a brand new. It's a reset, but it's a reset for him as a year 2 starter.
But are you worried? Are you worried about ruining him out of the game?
I am. I think he's already halfway broken already.
I'm not worried about ruining him, man. Listen, this guy's won his entire life, and now he's experiencing losing. Every quarterback has gone through this.
Oh,
this just looks a lot worse than a lot of other quarterbacks, right?
But you know what looks really bad when you
Cam Newton. No, listen, Cam.
Come off the field smiling.
I'm gonna tell you why we mad.
Why my man smiling, Stu? Why he's smiling?
That's his personality. Everybody leave him alone. That's the reason why. Whatever it is that keeps him at inner peace, with all the noise that he's experiencing, all this noise, all this chatter, all the people coming for his head, whatever he has to do to keep his inner peace, do it. I'm not worried about it.
I wasn't even going on Bryce today, so I really don't want to even because I agree with everything y'all are saying that it is one game and everything's going on. I don't want to go in on Bryce Young because again, they gave up 47 points. The defense. That was my telling why you.
I'm gonna tell you why we mad. I'm gonna tell you why we mad.
Let's start off with this. Very first big, what's his name? Derek Carr. He only threw for 200 yards in this game.
They were efficient as hell.
2 million.
Yeah, chunk plays. It just Alvin Kamara looked like
why?
You know
why? That it looked like he threw for 3,000 yards. It's because they were efficient in the run game.
They look faster than us too.
Play action, run game. Action, run game.
Kamara
can't get to the quarterback if you're worried about the run.
There was one play that's making its rounds on Twitter. I think Edgar Salamingo posted it where there's a run where Kamara's coming along the left side of the line, and you can see in the middle of the scrum of the defense or whatever, there are literally 3 Panthers that trip over each other and fall to the ground. I'm like, that just sums up the whole game. Like literally, like it gave Kamara an extra 10 yards because nobody even touched him. And it was just like they could have scored. They took out the starters the last 2 possessions they had, but they scored on their first 9 possessions. They could have kept scoring on every possession they had. There was literally no resistance from the defense. That scares me because the defense was supposed to be the thing we leaned on this year. They kept all the defensive coaches, the staff.
Yes.
They brought in Avero's guys. Did you hear Josie Jewell's name once on Sunday?
What did I tell you going into the season? Depth. You still entered week 1 without an answer opposite of JC. You entered week 1 without an answer opposite of Javian Clowney. And now you've lost Derrick Brown. So you're like Will Smith standing at the Bel Air, like, where'd everybody go?
But it's the first 5 minutes of the show. That's the problem. Like, we still got a whole rest of the show to fill in, and we don't know what's and you got the Chargers coming into town and Jim Harbaugh, who I wanted like for like 3 years. No. So now he's coming in week 2. And
Bozeman.
Austin Eckler ran for 130 yards Sunday, like 13 yards a carry. He only had 10 carries. I mean,
Hayden Hurst, Bradley Bozeman.
Yeah.
He's with the Chargers too.
Mm-hmm. So are you talking about Dobbins? Not
Dobbins. I'm sorry, J.K. Dobbins. So
Dobbins
we
came from Baltimore.
But that was my telling why. Again, I wasn't going to harp on Bryce. I did enough that on Twitter yesterday, going back and forth with folks, and it was really more of I wasn't saying Bryce deserves to be benched or anything like that. We need to see this through. I'm rooting for him. This has to work. Like this isn't a situation where I'm like, I don't want him here. Let's throw him out, find somebody else. We've already done all that like 3, 4, 5 times already. This needs to work in order to justify what they gave up for him. However, I'm trying to see where is the line where we're finally like when did the Jets fans finally have enough of Sam Darnold or what's the other kid that they just got? Zach Wilson. Like, when did they? How long was it before they finally just gave up?
You have to, Stu. I really want your opinion on this, but I think you give him this entire year. Like you've already started. You've already started the season with him as your starter. Like I said, I would have said, Andy Dalton, this is your team for 3 weeks. You have a clear plan, so you know that, and everybody's on the same page that we're grooming this thing for Bryce to step in, and Bryce knows the plan going into it. That's not what happened. Bryce is the starter. He's going to be your starter all year. You know why? Because you gave up a damn king's ransom to get him. And you owe it to yourself to figure out if he's the guy or not, because you can't go into next off season still questioning that decision. If you should know by the end of this season if he's your guy or not. If you're still thinking about it, then there's your answer right there. So you have to give him this entire season, and then you go into next offseason figuring out whether you want to draft another quarterback, you ride with Bryce, or you trade for somebody.
I want to think because we got so much going on. Stu, go ahead.
Yeah, I think, what we saw on Sunday was I view it as a disconnect, right? Because if you think about it, it's hard to think about one thing that led to what we saw as far as the performance of the Carolina Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
There's multiple things, and they're spread out very thin throughout the whole entire game. It's one play here, one play there. Every single drive, there's one play. Overthrown receiver, like misreads, lack of communication when it comes to, blitz pickups, right? Those types of things don't just fall on one player. It falls on the entire group. And like, as far as the pass protection, you got 3 guys coming off of an edge. You got to account for them, right?
Yeah.
And so a part of that is the quarterback. A part of that is the offensive line and how they communicate and what they're scheming up in the blocking scheme. And so if we're not, if we're not at a state where we're communicating, our job and our duty, the way we're supposed to win, that's baseline, right? That's fundamentals. So those things I'm not so worried about because those things can be cleaned up, right? We can clean up, pass pro. We can clean up, the overthrown throws. We can clean up, gap containment, like just fall into your gap. You know what I'm saying? Don't let these guys just run all over the place. So there's a lot of fundamental things that I saw throughout this game, especially because I watched it last night, and it was legitimately just fundamentals of just being disconnected, being out of place, not knowing where guys usually feel, and understanding that and how you're uniformed into existence on the field. That comes with time and experience. So I expect, as far as going into this week's preparation, we're going over the fundamentals. Run the ball. We have to figure out, hey, we're going to run the ball, and this is what it's going to look like. This is what it's going to feel like. This is what I need to see. This is what I need to hear. And then when we get to play action, that's where we make our money. That's what the Saints did to us. That's what the Chargers did to whoever they played last week.
Yeah.
Run the ball, play action. Yeah, especially early on in the game when you have a new coaching staff and everything, there's a lot that's being thrown at you for real. If there is a learning curve that hasn't really, been tapped into, like, you have to simplify it. And the best way to simplify is dress it up and run the ball.
I will say this. If this is a trend and it happens like next Sunday or Sunday after, I'm not going to be as easy to talk off the ledge. Again, it's been 6 years, 4 different head coaches, multiple. Like I pride myself the way this panel has been set up currently, where we have a former Panther player in Stu, we have a current Panther beat writer in Schuyler who's in the locker room, and then you have me, the Panther super fan. So I'm the one that's going to be the emotional one out of the group. The other ones are going to be more rational. I'm the one that's had to sit here in living rooms by myself because my family won't sit with me during Panther games anymore because I'm screaming.
Daddy's crazy. He's watching the Panthers again.
I don't see him till 4:30.
There goes the remote again.
And it's like, it was almost like I just gave it. It literally broke me. It broke me Sunday, like watching it. They were up 30-0 at the half. It's like this feeling of helplessness. Like we talked about in the offseason where we were reluctant to get up for this team because of what had happened previously with this team, right? And right at the very end of preseason, we all were kind of like, all right, we can see some stuff. This could be good. Me and Stu talked ourselves into 8-9 wins for the team again. And Schuyler's like, not so fast, my friends. I don't think that's going to be the way it's going down. I just wasn't expecting it to go down like that. A loss, fine. I get it. The rebuilding, we don't know what.
You just want to see some competitiveness. Yeah.
It felt like I went to I had to call a high school football game in Asheville Friday night, which is 2.5 hours away from where I live. So I didn't get home till like 1:30 in the morning on Friday. And my alma mater literally just beat the brakes off of this team. I'm not going to put their name out there on blast or anything like that, the team that lost, but it was 42-7 at the halftime. And literally it was just like every offensive possession, my alma mater was just running up and down the field like a basketball team, just scoring. And the other team was just helpless. Like there was nothing they could do. And I'm like, man, this is a great start to my weekend. Little did I know 2 days later, I was going to see the Panthers be that other team. And just literally like, it felt like they were like this with their hands up like the whole time, just getting pushed backwards like the whole day. But Stu, you had a tell them are you mad that actually has nothing to do with the Panthers, but I wanted to get your opinion on it because I was mad about it too, and I'm even more mad about it today. Stu, what was yours?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you why we mad, son.
Tyreek Hill.
Bro.
Tyreek Hill got arrested, man. Right before he went off.
With the
Jacksonville Jaguars.
That dude's a problem. He's a problem.
Listen. But why I'm mad is, this has happened just the golf, Scotty Scheffler.
Oh, yeah, Scotty Scheffler at the Masters.
Right.
Right.
I mean, we're living in a day and age where I get it. Police officers do their job, they protect and serve, and I appreciate our police work, or the officers and everything they do to protect and serve. But then there's some guys that I'm just like, it's common sense sometimes. Yeah. This guy's driving a sports car. Oh, he's buff. He's wearing a white beater. Oh, he looks like he might be the guy that's going to the game.
He's heading to the stadium.
Let me at least ask him. Like, hey, are you a football player? Are you heading to just certain things like that? Like, and I'm not saying like just because he's a football player, he's the exception. You know what I'm saying? This is not that type of speech. This is a little bit of more common sense, a little bit of emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
That is required, I feel, to have that type of job. To pull a guy out of the car, especially as he's sitting there kind of like confused, like, okay, what is happening?
Wasn't it a seatbelt violation? Isn't that what it was you ended up getting?
Man, if it was a seatbelt violation, you would have saw that if he opened the door.
Right. Yeah.
If it was a tinted window situation, so be it. But like, you're working, you can see they're right next to the stadium. They're really right there at the stadium.
There are fans walking to the stadium
to the game
behind all this.
And this is what you're choosing this is how you're choosing to operate. But how it happened, you take him out of the car, cool. You grab him out of the car. You aggressively throw him on the ground.
Yeah.
You have his elbow basically about to pop.
Yeah.
Like how he was, being hemmed up. And then like you probably have fans walking by saying, "Oh, Tyreek, are you okay?"
Calais Campbell drove by, and they were
Calais Campbell, one of the nicest guys the off the field.
Wasn't he Walter Payton, Man of the Year at one point?
Yes.
I think he was. Yeah,
he's walking up like, "Hey, this is my teammate. What's happening? Is everything okay?"
It was the same cop, that same one.
And he came over and hemmed him up after he told him, "Hey, leave," and he was about to walk away. And the police officer just follows him over to where he's telling him, give me your license. I told you to walk away the first time.
Such a coward shit.
And I'm just like, man, look, Calais Campbell, 6'9", 300+ pounds. What do you think he's doing out here?
Yeah.
You think he's just going to the game? Or you think he's just hanging out? You think
they clearly knew each other? He's screaming for him to call his agent, like while he's on the pavement. Like the whole thing is just this dude. I don't the lead cop that was in that was doing the majority of the instigating.
Yeah,
he needs to be put on leave and
I think he was.
I think so. Is he okay? Good, because that whole thing just kind of felt.
But this is it disgusts me because if you're not angry about how you saw that video, and we can talk about the similarities and the differences of what happened to Scotty Scheffler, right?
Yeah.
Well, I ain't gonna get into that on here, but we already know what it is. It is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. Because that's what happens. That's what's happening in our society still. It don't matter if you making millions. It don't matter if you on TV. It don't matter if you got charities and you doing really good things in your neighborhood and you doing things in the community. But if you look a certain way, you're going to get treated a certain way.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm more tired of. And that's why I'm mad. And that's why, if he got arrested and that body cam showed him just, getting out of the car, getting questioned and handled in a way that he should have been handled, I would have had no problem. But you throwing that aggression out there, it's like, bro, nobody's safe.
Just a power trip. Really what it came down to. Like, it's almost like these cops forget they have body cameras on now. Like,
I'm like, dude, come on now. You want to get fired? Like, you had a bad day at home? I get it. Police officers have bad days too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But we have to figure out a way, like maybe, police academies figure out how to, distinguish, certain traits.
It starts with training. Like the training is not on par really across the country. It's some good, some bad. You're gonna have rotten apples in every batch, but sometimes it feels like rotten apples are ruining the whole batch in some places. So
that just made me think of the Chris Rock thing. Do you remember him talking about how some jobs just can't have bad apples?
Yeah.
And he's like, it's not like American Airlines is like, well, most of our pilots like to land. Like,
oh, no, you better like to land, boy. I love to land. Hey, so I had a Coach Skip used to say, minor error, major F up, almost.
Yeah.
So he'd be like, hey, check the corners, check the safeties, because if you don't check, they might not come. But if they come and you do not check, that's a minor error, a major F up.
I love that.
Right?
I love that.
And so it's just like an airplane pilot. Airplane pilot goes up in the air. Like, hey, ladies and gentlemen, I am sorry to announce that we took off really well and everything's good, but we forgot to fill our tank up with gas. Whoopsie. That's a minor error, but a major F up. And so, shout out to Coach Skip, man.
I swear each week we come up with something that needs to be on a t-shirt. I swear, like that we got to open up a shop or something for Bleav it Panthers.
Yeah, man. All the proceeds can go to Coach Skip.
We
make those shirts.
I want to get
into major F up.
Major F up. I want to get into and shout out to everybody coming in today. We had an idea that it was going to be a pretty decent lot coming in to watch, and it's one of our larger live stream audiences ever today because a lot of you are upset, and you have a right to be so.
I'm
upset. I know sometimes you come here to. I think we're the ones where like you get it like by Tuesday, we try to put a little positivity on whatever you just saw from the Carolina Panthers. We're kind of the one, well, except for Schuyler, but we try to put it all, we try to get it all nice and shiny for you for when we come back on Sunday. It's a little harder this time, but somehow, some way, Mr. Jonathan Stewart has created this this positivity of give it some time.
This aura.
Walk away from the ledge. It's okay,
man. It's okay,
but,
man.
If the Chargers come in here with Jim Harbaugh, who I wanted, and beat us by 30 points at home on Sunday, this is going to be a very different Bleav in Panthers next week. Like, this is going to take a serious mark.
This is where we define who we are, man. It's not the setback. It's how we respond, bro.
Let's do around the league real quick because we still got to get back to Panthers and Chargers.
Real quick, think about it like this, though. It's one game in a 17-game season. A whole lot can happen. And you're not just going to shut it down after week one. Like, and I don't know if it was Chris Tabor or Steve Wilkes. I think it was Steve that said this whenever he took over and they lost a couple games. He's like, shit, like the rest of the league's not going to feel bad for you because things are not going your way. They're not just going to cancel the rest of the games. Like, you got to go out there and play. So you got to find a way to fix this stuff. And I've said this many times before, and Stu knows this by actually going through it. The most improvement you see is week 1 to week 2.
Week 2.
Yeah, and that's and like Canales said at the podium, if we win next week, none of this even matters. No one's going to remember the score. Right. It's not like college football or a poll or whatever.
And there are just some days like you have in baseball. And I know Stu's a new MLB fan. Shout out to his Mariners, but like there's just some days where when your pitcher just doesn't have it and you just can't hit and you get beat 15-0. Like those games happen.
We had
There's teams.
remember when we played Cincinnati a couple years ago? It was like 35-7 at the half or something. It was during Matt Rhule, and it just
I've had games like that plenty.
Pack this up.
But you know what also happened
49ers.
that year that Steve Wilkes, took out? They ran and set so many records against the Detroit Lions on Christmas Eve.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So
That's a night and day. That's a night and day difference of how that season was going.
Yeah, that
too.
was the same season
Because they
too.
whooped the dog piss out of him.
But again, but it took a change at the top. It took an identity change for them to even get to that point to even be able to feel like they could do it. And I don't know. Again, I thought of Steve Wilkes on Sunday too.
It just
My
goes
mind
back to
around the fourth quarter. I was like, "What's Steve feeling right now?" Like
it just goes back to the Bryce Young thing. Like all these writers, analysts, whoever, whatever you want to call them, that are putting this one game on Bryce Young and saying he's done. He's never going to make it in Carolina. Come on. That's lazy as hell. Not like
that's a really good way to put it. It's lazy.
Yeah,
those are the ones that didn't want him here.
We gotta work, fans. We gotta work at this.
They've looked for reasons to not have him here from the very beginning. So anytime something like that happens, just another card in their deck to say. And again, we're on tape. We've been on here for a year, really trying to hype up Bryce Young and his attributes. So it's not like we've been sitting there saying Bryce Young doesn't deserve to be here like the whole time. I'm just starting to put the question in the air of when do we start to question this?
It's okay to have concern. That's where I'm at. I'm concerned.
I'm concerned. I'm concerned. Like because we had been sold another lemon, basically. Well, we don't know if it's a lemon yet, but we've been sold this idea that all he needed was a quarterback whisperer, basically, to get him back on track. It's not starting off on a great note, but I'm willing to sit back and believe.
Do you believe
that Dave Canales can figure this out and go from there? But I wanted to get to around the league. Wait, did we do your tell him why you're mad, Schuyler? Did we get to it?
What's that?
We did your tell him why you're mad, didn't we?
Yeah, he was talking about the fans.
Yeah, let's do I want to get to around the league before we get to our three keys for Panthers Chargers, because we do have a game on Sunday. I'm gonna kind of hit them quick fire, just get your thoughts on this.
Did I say something about the Patriots might be better than what everyone thought?
I think you did, actually.
You did.
Damn.
Now it's one game. It's one game.
Just one game. They might have caught who they
It
play.
was the Bengals.
The Bengals.
Well, the Bengals always start off slow.
The Bengals, they just too finesse.
Yeah, they start off real slow. I was surprised to see Jamar Chase playing Sunday. That was a shock. It was also a shock that Dak Prescott ended up getting the largest guaranteed contract in the history of NFL football, literally like 30 minutes before kickoff, and then the Cowboys just went out.
The Browns.
And the Cowboys, look, the
They're
Browns
looking like the old. They're
year.
looking like the old Cowboys too, with Zeke back there.
Yo, y'all laughed at me when I said Chiefs Cowboys Super Bowl. Like, remember I laid out the whole story? Like, wouldn't it be the scripted NFL story?
It is not happening. They will
telling
win 13, 14 games and get bounced in round one or round two. They will not make the NFC Championship.
I'm just saying, they started off the story with they picked right back up where they were the number one scoring offense in the league last year. They didn't add anybody really, but maybe they didn't.
They also played arguably one of the worst offenses in the AFC.
That brings us to Deshaun Watson. We need to talk about Deshaun, because Deshaun Watson.
I'm always for Jameis. I'm a Jameis Winston guy anyway.
How long before you pull? Because $230 million guaranteed, and he's really only played 2 years out of that contract. They've been paying him. It's not, you can't even cut him. If you cut him, you still owe him like $170 million or something.
So
nuts. Dead cap.
I'll say this about that situation, Deshaun Watson. He hasn't played that much football for the Browns.
No, he's been hurt.
The team's brand new from last year almost, right? So there's not much you can basically say like, oh man, you should have came in here and waxed. You should have been, on your P's and Q's. Yeah, you could argue that because they paying him to be on his P's and Q's. But the reality is, it's just like everyone else's first game this year. If things don't shape out how you want them, the first game,
strap back up, go it again next week.
Yeah,
no quarterback threw for over 250 yards.
There's like half the league threw for under 200 yards yesterday on Sunday.
That did stand out to me. I was like, okay,
defense is
half of the league
going to be ahead of offense.
Tua was the only one. Tua threw for like 330 something. But I mean,
So everyone needs to relax. Deshaun Watson is still a good quarterback. He's proven that he has been an elite quarterback at one point.
Is he? Is he though? Because we haven't
He's-
seen him be a good
listen,
quarterback since before COVID.
He's proven it in the past, so it's in there somewhere, Jerome.
I don't think that you can wear my middle name.
Didn't something come out about him
I'm telling
yesterday?
my mom on you. Like, this dude's using my middle name.
Didn't something else come out about Deshaun yesterday?
Yes, he's got another
Yeah,
civil suit.
there's another suit.
Oh, 2020.
Lord.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Sheesh.
saying. Like, I think this might be
Well, it might just happen anyway because he might have
All
to
that
deal
mo-
with all that.
all that money that he got from the Browns. He's having to pay it out. And he's still that's why he
Oh,
asked for
man.
so much. It's like
It's hard times out
I need
here.
$230 million to make all this stuff like be happening. Now again, this is the same Browns team that made it to the playoffs basically with this offense with Joe Flacco running it. You know,
Yeah.
like Deshaun looked off. Like we were talking about Bryce looking off. Deshaun looked off like the whole game. He was just like not accurate at all. Some of the plays that Deshaun Watson's known for, like being able to scramble, extend plays, he wasn't able to do that.
In his defense, they were without, I think, both of their tackles.
They were without both tackles.
Okay. Let's talk about that.
But there was
Protection
times
is
last
key.
year Flacco didn't have him either. That's what I'm saying. Flacco came off a couch and led them to the playoffs with this. They had the number one rated defense, scoring defense in the league last year, and the Cowboys put up 35 points on them, like with ease, pretty much.
Yeah, Flacco was a dog, man.
That was one of them. Do the Cowboys have the best offense in the NFL, in your opinion?
No.
I think I might have saw it Thursday night because we haven't even talked about the Thursday game. Because that game feels different now compared to what we saw Sunday.
The Kansas City Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. It's not even close.
They're faster. They're faster now.
Not even
Worthy.
close. That defense. No, the defense.
Yeah, they shut down again.
Chris.
Chris Jones.
Hey, the way I was watching him, and he was basically telling the D lineman, "Hey, I'm gonna line up here. You go line up over there." Like on any given play.
Yeah, he was. He was like tapping him, like go.
Like, man, this is he's mastered the position. They are in a league of their own. Shout out to Baker Mayfield, man.
Yeah,
just out there throwing the ball like he does.
You know what? And he gets a bad rep too, but really he was hurt those years where he wasn't playing that well. Like he played through his shoulder in Cleveland in 2021, but 2020 he led him to the playoffs, beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, and now he's found a new home in Tampa. I'm actually happy for Baker.
Why do football fans hate people? Why do they hate the good quarterbacks? Josh Allen's, the
because they don't have them because they're not their
Baker
quarterback.
Mayfield.
That's why.
I'll tell you why.
That's exactly why.
Well, at least this is just my thinking. Is because they're good enough, but they haven't broken through and got a Super Bowl. And that's the thing that we all hold everyone to. Like
Lamar Jackson.
If you don't have a Super Bowl, that's like how elite are you? Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen.
That just goes to show you.
All intents and purposes, Lamar Jackson is probably the second best quarterback in the league right now, and you could make an argument that he might be the best quarterback.
Everyone forgets football is a team sport.
Yeah. Yep.
Just because you don't win a Super Bowl doesn't mean you were never a great quarterback.
I'm intrigued by the Ravens' offense, though. The way they came out that first drive, I saw what it could be, like with Derrick Henry and Lamar in the backfield, and I like Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers,
5 yards out, automatic touchdown.
Yeah, so I think the Ravens' offense ain't gonna be that far off either. Actually, you know what? It reminded me, especially that first drive, it reminded me of the 2015 Panthers offense, like the way it was set up. It felt like it was all power. You didn't know if it was going to be the quarterback running it or Derrick Henry running it, or you had some speed on the outside like Ted Ginn. Like that's kind of how I've seen Zay Flowers. Like they kind of resembled a little bit in terms of what they were doing. And I've said that for a couple of years with the Ravens, that they kind of felt like the Panthers with Cam, the way they run their offense. They kind of run it through him, and because they'll run called run plays like for Lamar. Like you don't see that really with any other quarterback in the league. So
where do you see the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC?
I think it's them and the Cowboys, to be honest, and maybe Detroit.
Saquon looked like he was,
3 touchdowns.
The truth. Like Saquon might have out of the running backs this year. He's primed to have the best year of all running backs.
He finally got
started out the gate. He's healthy. Like, I mean, my man looked exactly how he looked the rookie year, and then some.
San Fran's still the top dog for me.
Who had the worst loss on Sunday? The Bengals, the Giants, or the Panthers?
The Panthers.
Yeah.
But I mean, we were 2-15 last year. Like, no one expected us to win. Like,
I did.
Yes, but it's to the fashion that
Don't be laughing at me, Jerome.
I think I picked this to win too. But I mean, the Bengals lost to the Patriots, and I don't even know who was starting. Was it Jacoby Brissett at quarterback? I don't even know.
I think so.
They lost to them, and then the Giants lost to the Giants lost
Minnesota.
Oh, right, with Sam Darnold. So which one?
No, it's Panthers. I don't even think it's close. Like, they got their butts whipped in all.
Yeah, it just wasn't competitive, like, at all. Like,
had a punt
beginning.
blocked. I mean, just it was
Yeah, I don't know
every
why I asked the
facet of the game.
I don't even know why I asked that question. Yeah, it was us.
Shout out to Bucky Irving.
Did
University of Oregon.
Atlanta make a mistake signing Kirk Cousins?
No,
100
I
million.
don't think so. I mean, that Pittsburgh defense is. I mean, it's tough. I mean, they've got arguably one of the best pass rushers, I should say, with T.J. Watt, Minkah Fitzpatrick in the back end. I mean, they've got dudes, and it's week one.
Do you think is Russell Wilson the starter? Like, when he's healthy? Because Justin Fields played pretty well week one.
I think they'll go back to Russ, and if he struggles, then they go back to Justin.
Which was was sort of the idea when they brought them both in. So Pittsburgh's interesting, but they're just in a really tough division. I don't know.
Is it tough? We'll know if it's tough in a minute. After next 2
Well, we
weeks.
did give the Browns some flowers that maybe they didn't deserve. So, but again, they were playing the Dallas Cowboys. So, and the Cowboys, we joke about them a lot, but they were the number one scoring offense in the league last year. They've won 12 games the past 2 years, regular season wise. They can win games. They just something happens to them in January. I don't know what it is, but
you got to be able to play defense and run the ball. And I
Yeah.
do know that the Browns do have somebody that's going to be available in the next couple weeks.
You got that boy Chubb coming back.
Nick Chubb.
Yeah. So I'm not writing out Cleveland. What else? Thoughts on Dak signing this deal? Basically $60 million per over the next 5 years. He basically reset the market. He got $1 million more than Deshaun did.
Ridiculous.
Dak was second or third in MVP voting last year.
I think
does he
they
need a Super Bowl to justify his deal?
I mean, think about it this way. The goal is to win Super Bowls, to win championships. That's the goal. The Cowboys have been winning games overall and selling tickets. Butts in the seats. So America's team ain't really hurting. Is what I'm trying to say.
We were clowning that they didn't get anybody in the free agency or whatever. Maybe they didn't need anybody. Like, they were already kind of loaded. If you look at their defense and their offense, what exactly did they need? Like, and we never questioned that. We were just like, they didn't do anything in the offseason. They're going to suck. And I'm like, did they need to get anybody? Like, they're already pretty kind of loaded. So they just need to get to the NFC Championship.
My biggest sounding like a Cowboys fan right now.
No, I'm just being real. Like, I'm just kind of tired of the Cowboy hate. Like, they've been winning. They just haven't been able to get to the Super Bowl. Like,
yeah, you're right.
My biggest thing with the quarterback market is, like, people complain about all these big deals and how is it that Dak has the richest contract or somebody else at some other point in time? Like, that's not the most elite quarterback. You got to think of it like this. The quarterback position is the most valuable position in football. Like, it's not even close. And even if you're just getting really good quality play, say like a Dak Prescott, you're so worried that if you don't give him that money and you just move off of him, that you're going to end up falling into quarterback purgatory, i.e. Carolina.
Yeah.
So even though it may not be Patrick Mahomes, it may not be Lamar Jackson, teams are willing to pay the extra how many ever millions of dollars to keep a quarterback that's really good and that will win you games. But that's now your job to go out and figure out how to build the team around him to make it a Super Bowl team. So that's why these quarterbacks are making ridiculous money, and it's going to continue to happen. Like, you're going to see guys that aren't in the top five of quarterbacks make the most money.
Yeah,
I mean,
you can't just go find a Dak Prescott just hanging out on the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's proven his worth. Like, I mean, he really has. I do like Dak Prescott in terms of like as a quarterback and a leader. Like he seems to fit the role as the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. So he got his money, everybody's good. And I just saw that Micah Parsons gonna have to wait till the end of the year for his deal. But they ended up signing CeeDee Lamb. They ended up getting Dak signed. That was their main reason why they couldn't get anybody in there, because they had that money tied up because they knew they had to get those guys in. We'll see what happens with them, but it's going to be them and the Eagles in that NFC East, which is going to be fun.
CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson are going to be paid.
I didn't want to bring it up, but
them boys ain't listen.
Price today,
listen,
but
Anthony Richardson
like a 60-yard bomb on his.
That was a hose.
Yeah,
he threw a couple of them, man. Like I'm just like, good lord, this
CJ
man
Stroud
like
threw a first down from his knees or whatever.
This man like a Greek god is throwing the ball in the air. Like
it's like all these specimens out here playing quarterback, and we're just sitting there like, oh man. So Bryce, I need you to show the hell out at home on Sunday.
Out, man.
Show out, man. Show why you were the number one pick, man. Fight back, fight back, Bryce.
Nah, the whole team needs to fight, because I can tell you one thing: offense can go out there and show out, but special teams and defense don't show out. You still gonna have the same problem. So we have to be cohesive. Gotta find some cohesiveness. You know,
I need to hear Josie Jewell's name. I need to hear Josie Jewell's name a couple of times on Sunday, because I don't remember hearing his name not once.
Clowney was silent. I mean,
I was watching Clowney. Like, he was getting kind of double teamed. He got held on that one touchdown pass. I will say that, because you could see him getting jerked around. They just didn't call it, but he was basically non-effective. Like, I didn't really hear anybody.
Shaq was the one that showed up.
Shaq
was all over the play. He plays hard all the time.
Horn got burned. Well, I don't even know if Horn got burned on the play or if there was supposed to be a safety up top.
I thought he got beat initially, but
it was supposed to be cover 3.
Yeah, because he turned to the safety, was like, "Where were you?" And the safety was like, "I just got here Friday." Like, I mean, literally, like, we don't know what's going on. So,
20 was supposed to drop down. He was supposed to stay back, but he dropped down on who was that? Their tight end that came up. He ran like a deep crossing route.
Yeah,
he dropped into that.
So we're gonna wash our hands of this Carolina Saints game. Saints 379 total yards to the Panthers 193. You have 3 turnovers in a game. You're going to probably lose that game. Maybe not by 37, but you're probably not going to win that game. The Saints doubled up on first downs on us. They had 22 first downs to our 11, 36, 39 minutes in terms of possession. We only had the ball for 23 minutes. It was just a butt whooping, like pretty much.
You said 1 of 10. You said 1 of 10. 1 out of 10 on third downs.
No, well, they had 22 first downs. We had 11. I didn't see the third down thing, but I'm sure it was
one of 10.
Sure it was horrific.
1 of 10 is bad.
1 of 10 on third down for us.
Yeah.
We only had 58 total, and that was something that was a key to the game for me, that we needed to hit over 100 yards rushing. We did not sniff that at all. That leads us into our prediction. Well, not predictions, but our keys to the game for this Sunday. Panthers taking on the Chargers. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff. I Bleav it's on Fox. It may be on CBS with it being the Chargers. I'll have to double check that before we get off here. But let's go through it real quick in terms of your keys for for what you just saw Sunday from the Panthers. What do they need to do to improve to beat the Los Angeles Chargers being brought in here by Jim Harbaugh, who I wanted in the first place? You might want to go first.
I will say run the ball.
Run the ball.
Have some. Be efficient. 3-yard gain. Don't shy away from it. That might be the gain that allows you to run it again and pop one. I just want to see us commit to the run game in a way that takes pressure off of our quarterback and gives him an opportunity to connect downfield, or a deep, just allowing him to connect deep with what would be an explosive play, and just take what's there. Don't try to force things that aren't there. Just read your keys, and run the ball.
My key to the game might be each week. Go ahead, Schuyler. You can go ahead and do it. I'll finish this up.
I've got 3. So don't do what you did last Sunday. Score more than 10 points. and don't give up 47 points. No, I'm just but
those are great keys.
Yeah. To me, it's taking care of the football. I mean, Dave Canales has talked about this since the day that he was hired. We are about the ball. We're about the ball. We're about the ball. Last Sunday, they were not about the ball.
Yeah, get the ball right.
Not in a position to be able to overcome multiple turnovers in a game, much less even one at some points, depending on who you're playing. So in a game like this against the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh is going to run the ball like crazy, milk the clock, and that pretty much shrinks the game itself. So you are going to be like it's going to feel like you have a boa constrictor wrapped around your neck if you hand the ball over to LA 2 times, because they're just going to sit there and milk the clock and milk the clock and milk the clock. And you have then less possessions to do anything with the ball. So it's all about the football.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. It's the same key I had last week. We need over 100 yards rushing, which to me tells me we're dedicated to running the ball. Like everything we just said, Dave Canales preached on and on off season. They wanted to do that. They got away from it, which I understand Sunday because they got down early. So it was at that point you kind of had to push it. And if you're doing a bunch of 3 and outs, you're just not going to get a chance to really get a run game going. Didn't really see enough from Chuba and Miles. Although I will say the couple of runs that Miles had made me feel like, okay, it looks like he's moving a little better than he was last year. They just didn't get enough reps. So I think the key for the Panthers, they need to get a lead early. Like, this is not a come from behind team, in my opinion. Like, they need to get out and get up early and either be in a shootout based on whatever the defense is doing or hold that lead so they can control the clock. Because when it's the other way around, we're just not built yet to be able to score fast. Like, we're just not built that way. I will say on Sunday that although Bryce was overthrowing his guys, they were open. Like, it wasn't like last year where it was like they were wearing coats, basically. Like, you couldn't get any separation at all. They were pretty much open. He was just overthrowing them. And maybe it was Bryce kind of like, oh, man, I expect him to be that open, like that kind of thing. But they were getting open. And for the most part, he had a pretty clean pocket. Like, compared to last year, he had time. And he knew to get out of the pocket within about 2 seconds or so. You could see him. And maybe that was too fast. Maybe his clock was just kind of messed up on Sunday. And that just disrupted everything else like dominoes down the line. But if you can get the run game going, that's going to settle Bryce. Like you said at the beginning of the show, Stu, get some play action going. Get them lathered up a little bit. Let them go. I see people saying, oh, we can't do what Anthony Richardson did the other day. We don't know. We've never given him enough time to protect them to see if he can. So, like,
and I'll say this, too. I just thought about this. Watching Aaron Rodgers last night. He looked bad. Right? But we're saying to ourselves, oh, that was just his first game back, from he didn't play last year and he's older, and we create excuses for what we want to create excuses for, right?
Boom, right there.
And so for me, like, let's not do that. Let's just go out there and expect our guys to go out there and play really well. And if they don't, it's just a bad game. It's just a bad game. Because I can guarantee you, Monday, they watched film, they saw how good it was and how bad it was. And I can tell you this, it's never as bad as it looks. It's never as good as it looks. Because watching the game, if I didn't see the score and I watched the game, I say to myself, it wasn't all that bad. Like watching the 2020 version, the 22 version copy, it wasn't all that bad. There's bad, but it wasn't as bad as what we felt watching it live, right? And so just let's leave the excuses out the window, because we're just going to talk ourselves into a dang whirlpool.
So basically, it is what it is. Yeah, it is.
Like,
what it is.
It is what it is. It is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. They played bad. They know that. We know that. But are we going to throw in the towel? Absolutely not. Bryce just has to go out there and read, trust his reads. Defense just needs to play with heart and just understand their, sense of awareness of where they are on the field. Like, every snap, every tackle, you have to go out there and throw your bodies around. You have to legitimately sacrifice your body every single game, and that's the mentality.
Have fun.
You got talent. We've picked up guys that have what it takes. And so you go out there, and you just make it happen, bro. Like it's not rocket science. And when you have a mindset of the dog mentality, right? I was actually talking to a teammate of mine last night about this dog mentality. Like, in my opinion, everybody is a dog, right? But what type of dog are you? There's different types of dogs. You have your golden retrievers. Do we want that? We might need a couple golden retrievers.
That's some chihuahuas.
Do we need some chihuahuas? I don't know if we need chihuahuas, right? But all I do know is that there's alphas, and alphas know alphas. And when you have a group of alphas that are different types of dogs, but they have the alpha mentality, like you then start forming a pack. And when you have a pack of dogs that are going out to hunt for their food, that's a scary thought. And that's kind of what we have to figure out. I think the Carolina Panthers are figuring out what that recipe is. We have all different types of dogs. We got to figure out where the alphas are, because where those alphas are, there'll be others to follow that.
And that might be part of my concern too, as we wind this up here. That I was thinking about this on Sunday. Who are the alphas on this team, but who are the vocal alphas on this team? Because all the Panther teams that I remember through 30 years going through this that were really good, they had somebody on that team that was like a rah vocal guy. Like 2015, it's Cam, it's Josh Norman, but there was others, Thomas Davis. Like there was talkers on that team.
Yep.
2008,
bunch of pit bulls. You know,
2008, Jake Delhomme was a talker. Steve Smith's on that team. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like talkers, like guys that are just going to get in your face and get after it. And like they set this level where like the team needs to come with them. Who is that on this team? Who is that on this roster? Because again, seeing Bryce Young smiling after throwing an interception on his first pass of the 2024 season, walking off the field, was infuriating to me. Like it literally, I was like, why are you smiling? Why are you smiling? Like, we can all see you, Bryce. We can all see you. Like, you got to show some kind of remorse, something. Like, give me something. Don't be like, it's no big deal. Because then they went down and scored a touchdown.
All right, I got something for you. What if he go out there and he just keeps smiling? He throwing touchdowns. He throws a bad pass. He keeps smiling. He start winning. We win.
If that happens, I'll be fine. But I don't think it's going to happen that way. Like, I have nothing to believe that's going to happen that way. I need to believe.
I don't have the tape to go back and check, but I'm just guessing Cam probably smiled or laughed after throwing a pick that maybe he thought was a dumb decision or whatever. Like, I don't make too much into it.
I don't make that. Yeah, I wouldn't read too much into all that. I think it's just,
and it just could have been
because it's people's personalities, right? So I don't think we want to attack Bryce's personality.
No, not at all. I'm just saying how I was feeling. I'm describing what I was going through. Like not what Bryce, just me, like in the living room by myself while my family was on the other side of the house. Like, and I see it. I look up. It's the first offensive play of the 2024 season, and
that's probably what he's thinking. He's probably like, you got to.
I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Yeah, seriously, are you kidding me?
Throw the ball right there. He's right there. He's open. Come on.
So to sum this up, so for those that I was getting into Twitter wars with yesterday, no, I don't think we need to throw Bryce Young to the bench. I don't think that it's a mistake or anything like that. I just want to see some consistency, man. And that's not wrong for me to ask for. He's the number one overall pick.
Yeah, you deserve that, John.
Yeah, I deserve it. People were like, oh, you don't even watch these games. I'm like, are you kidding me? I have to watch the entirety of these games so I can sit here and talk about them with you guys. And it's like for people to come in and be like, oh, you didn't really watch the game. You didn't see what was going on. You didn't see the hell I didn't. I'm having to sit here by myself and watch it and just sit with my thoughts and just go, how many years am I have to host the show before we get a winning season? Can we just be above 500? I don't even think we've been above 500 since I've started hosting this show, like in any year. Like,
funny thing was yesterday, Sunday, I guess it was. It was deep into the third quarter, maybe start of the fourth. I don't know. My wife just looks at me, goes, "Do we still got to watch this?" I said,
yeah.
I don't leave the stadium at a home game when they're down 30. I can't do it when I'm on TV. They're on TV either. But I know we got to get out of here. But I want to just bring this one more thing up because I forgot to mention it earlier. I actually had a second why you mad, and I wanted to get your guys' opinion on this.
Hold on, we got some bonus time here.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you why we mad, son. I'm gonna tell you why we mad, son.
I don't know how none of us have brought this up. Shador. What are you doing, my guy? Y'all didn't see this?
What happened?
Completely throws his team under the bus in the post-game press conference after losing to Nebraska. They were asking him a question, something about I actually don't even know what the question was. It was something about how the offense was struggling. And he basically said, did y'all see how much or how many times Rhule, the Nebraska quarterback, got touched? Something like that, like alluding to the fact that he was under pressure constantly. Yeah.
Ooh.
Terrible look. If you haven't seen it, go look it up on Twitter. It's everywhere. Every single person that is either liked or that is, vouched for Shador or hated Shador all along, they were all on the same page on this one. Terrible.
That sounds horrible. Yeah, that's not good, Shador, because you're getting talked about like you might be a top pick in the draft next year. Yeah. Teams aren't going to go near you if you're going to talk like that.
He doubled down on it too. Like it wasn't just like a quick comment. Like he was pretty stern with it. So
Travis Hunter's the number one pick on that team, in my opinion. Anyway, like above Shador. Like Travis Hunter is like a made up video game character. Like he ain't supposed to exist.
You don't ever say what you think happened.
No, not especially there, like at the podium, like while they're asking.
Let everybody else say it for you, like you know what I'm saying. Like we know that you was getting chased around, but
that's PR 101.
Because when you go back into your locker room, those big hog mugs are gonna be looking at you like,
remember the scene
one that said that we didn't block for you.
Yeah, remember the scene Any Given Sunday, the game where the line stopped blocking for Jamie Foxx.
Remember when Adam Sandler turned and that the offensive line just like, whoops, sorry.
It's got to let them all through like turnstiles.
Until you apologize, we ain't gonna stop.
You do right by us. Oh my gosh, Colorado, how many games did they even win this year?
5, maybe
3.
Yeah, it's kind of gone. They don't have a running back, really.
Deion's gonna be gone after this year. As soon as Shador's gone, Deion's gone too. Deion never stays anywhere longer than 4 or 5 years. Like if you look at his whole career, like he's never really stayed in any one spot longer than like a 5-year period. Even NFL Network. Like I was gonna say I kind of expect him to be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys next year. It'd be Deion, and they go get Shador or whatever, and he's the quarterback. But then they signed Dak, so I was like, oh,
I'm so sorry for dragging this out even longer, but.
You got another one?
I got one more.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you why we mad, son. I'm gonna tell you why we mad.
I'm emptying out the chamber on a Tuesday.
Yeah, and usually I don't have any, but can we please, for the love of God, get Greg back on the number 1 team for Fox?
Oh, we did not talk about Tom Brady.
Yeah, man. Listen, Tom Brady.
Great quarterback.
You're a great quarterback. You got a lot of insight. Really appreciate you. But shout out to Greg Olsen because he is probably one of the better announcers of all history, in my opinion.
He's really good. He's really, really good.
I know it's hard to follow that of what Greg Olsen is. Doesn't matter if you're the greatest football player of all time. It's hard to follow Greg Olsen into that role. Maybe he gets better after his first week, just like, the best, improvement happens from week 1 to week 2.
Bench Brady.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely not going to be any benching that goes on this year, but I think after this season, we should all, put in a petition or something like that.
It's a 10-year deal,
Greg, and I've said this before. He is
justice for Olsen. I love that.
He is so understanding of the football audience, and that it's not just like everybody's either dumb and you have to explain it, or everyone's advanced. He knows
like very middle of the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
He covers it so where everybody that's at a 101 level can understand, and a 401
somebody's grandmama can watch the game and be like, oh, I understand football now. It's taking me 20 years or 70 years to figure this out.
But he also caters to the 400 level people too, which is good.
Yeah.
The problem is Tom Brady's deal is for 10 years. Like, it's 10 years, $375
What's
million.
the buyout clause in
I've
that?
seen a lot of contracts been bought out.
That's going to be a lot. That's a huge buyout. If they decide to do that.
He
And
may
then,
not even want to do it after.
I was going to say, maybe he don't even want to do it. Like, maybe he hears it too. He's like, yeah, you know what? I don't even want to do this.
Yeah,
Just keep
I'll
doing
tell
it.
you this: broadcasting live games like that is very hard.
Yes, it is.
It's not an
very
easy
hard.
feat.
Yep. I do it every week, and not on that level, but it's still hard. And there's a lot of things that go into it behind the scenes people don't know about. And it was his first game. I don't think he's ever done commentary before. I don't think. But
So if we had to put this in a bow, let's put this in a bow. I think the statement leaving here and feeling positive about week 2 is understanding that as football fans, good, bad, ugly, sweet, it's week 1. We just experienced week 1 of the NFL. It's only one game.
Maybe the worst week 1 in the history of the Panthers.
So if you won week 1, hey, good for you. But you still got 16 more. If you lost week 1.
And don't worry about Derrick Brown missing the entire season. That's okay.
Listen,
That's
shout
fine.
out to Derrick Brown. Hope you heal up, man.
Yeah, man.
That's not a great way to start off your season. I know that you you had expectations, as did everyone else, but your expectations are greater than everyone else's. And hate that you had to suffer that injury and that type of loss. But it's week 1 for everybody else right now, and we have week 2 upon us.
Home opener Sunday.
1
o'clock at Bank of America Stadium. The
Panthers, make sure y'all live in there. Make sure y'all. I don't see too many Chargers jerseys. They all the way in LA.
I don't.
They should not travel.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't do that.
I'm gonna tell you why we mad. I'm gonna tell you why we mad.
Fans, I'm warning y'all right now because y'all do this all the time. Like, especially if the Steelers or somebody come to town and I see these terrible towels waving in Bank of America Stadium. Do not let Charger fans from a whole other coast.
I want to see that lightning bolt.
The stadium. Like, we need to show some support for what we're seeing and understand. Again, it was one game. They can turn all this around with 60 minutes on Sunday. Like, literally, just play better. Just play better than you did on Sunday. Don't turn the ball over 3 times. Run the ball. Commit to it, and just do what you've been doing in the off season. Like, I hate it when we hear, like, not that I hate the information, but when we hear from Schuyler, somebody in the off season saying, oh, they look pretty good. They look pretty good. And then they get out in the field. We finally get a chance to see them. And it's like, we don't get a chance to see it. Like, almost like they're thinking too hard or something. Like, just go play football, man. Just go play football.
Just be a football player.
Before
I got to roll out
here. I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to get out of here before I completely lose it. Y'all did help with talking me off the ledge. Y'all typically do. Well, Stu did. Schuyler still got me, like, wondering what's going to happen on Sunday.
I had to tap into your middle name, boy. I had to
tap into your middle name. I was about to tell my mama later on, like, man, this boy was calling me by my middle name for like an hour earlier today. I don't know what to do, mama. But I'm going to get us out of here. Shout out to everybody. This is one of the largest live stream episodes we've had. So definitely shout out to everybody. I know y'all want to come in and vent. Sunday, 1 o'clock, Panthers, Chargers, Bank of America Stadium. We'll be back next Tuesday live at 10:30 a.m. Hopefully on a Victory Tuesday and 1-1 and a whole different outlook on life and the NFL in general by the time we come back around. But for Schuyler Callihan and Jonathan Stewart, this is Desmond Johnson. You've been watching and listening to the Bleav in Panthers podcast on Bleav Podcast Networks, brought to you by Bet Online. Keep on.